Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and I hope you guys are doing great. So we are in the midst of Q1 FY27 earnings season. The results are coming out, and I'm making the videos on all of them. So in this video, I'm going to discuss with you about a company called Syrma SGS Limited. We're going to discuss their Q1 FY27 sorry, results which came out, right? But before I get into that, I'll just tell you in short what is the company does, right? So the company is into electronic manufacturing services. So they mostly do contract manufacturing. And other thing what they have done is they are now become original design manufacturer, where they also design their own product and sell it to their customers. So that in short, that's what they do. If you look at their recent result, right? The results were literally amazing. If you look at the total revenue, it increased by almost 67% to 1,603 crores, and their operating EBITDA also increased by close to around 69% to 161 crores. And if you look at their EBITDA it grew by almost 72% to 176 crores. And if you look at their, especially the PAT, right? The PAT almost, how to say, double compared to the last year. It grew by almost 112% to 105 crores. So this clearly shows, right? The company is getting immense operating leverage. And if you look at their export revenue also, it grew, which also grew by almost close to 67%. So if you, in short, if you look at the whole result, right? The results are good. The revenue grew by almost close to 67%. The company got immense operating leverage. That's why, because of which they were able to literally double their profit compared to the last year. So everything is going well for the company. And from the management comment, right, the management is very clear that the growth which is happening, and it is happening through automotive, consumer, and their export business, which they recently started to scale from FY26. So this clearly shows, right, what they started to consider on FY26 is giving the results in FY27. Obviously, I'm going to go through the various industry segment which they serve, and we'll see how is this spanning out. So let's go over there. If you look at the screen, right? So these are the various segment of in which for the manufacturer, right? Auto, consumer, healthcare, industrial, sorry, IT and railway. So if you look over here, right? Auto grew by almost 78% from 221 crores to almost 394 crores. Consumer also grew by almost 68% from 317 crores to 532 crores. And if you look at healthcare, right, it grew by almost 100%. It contributed to only close to around 67 crores last year, but this year in Q1 FY27, it contributed to around almost 134 crores. The only industrial also grew by 31%, which is a decent number. But compare, if you look at the auto, consumer, healthcare, and IT, it was not that great. If you look at IT and railways, right, over here also, I mean, this is literally out of the park. They grew by almost 200%. Last year, it contributed to around 50%, 50 crores, and this year it contributed around close to 150 crores. And if you look at their contribution in terms of the overall revenue, right? If you look at auto, it last year it was 23. It is this year it was 25. For consumer, it was 34. Still remained at 34. Healthcare 7, around 8%. So over here, if you see for these three segments, right? So the contribution almost remained the same. The other thing is that if you look at the industrial, that's where the contribution has gone on, and you can understand, because even though it grew, it did not grow at that level compared to the other segment. And if you look at IT, right, it almost the contribution doubled. It grew from 5% contribution to 9%. So overall, if you look, right, almost out of all the five sector segments that they are serving, right, four sectors have done really well. So this growth for Syrma is not just because either one segment like auto is doing well, or healthcare is doing well. It's like almost across the segment, whether you take auto, whether you take consumer, healthcare, and IT related, they're just growing in the north of close to around close to 70%. So that is actually a good sign for the company. And if you look at their financial ratios, right, because we need to look at them to see how the margins are improving, because we can clearly say that they're getting a great operating leverage. If you look at the screen, right, if you look at the profit before tax margin and PAT margin, right, that PBT improved from 7% to 8.8%. Then PAT margin also improved from 5.2% to 6.6%. And if you look at their return on capital employed, and another thing is return on capital as per the adjusted goodwill, right? it increased from 13.5% to 17.3%, 16.9% to 21%. So this clearly shows that the capital allocation that they're doing, right? The capital that they employ, the return is improving. So that means they're doing the decisions that the management is taking regarding the capital allocation is bearing the fruit which it is supposed. Because there are a lot of companies where the management decides, okay, where the capital needs to be deployed. That is one thing, but how that capital is, returning, giving the returns, that is one of the biggest things that we need to look at. And over here, if you look for Syrma SGS, the return on capital employed is definitely improved compared to the last year. Another last important update which I want to say, right? So the company has got into a strategic joint venture with a Japanese company called KAGA Electronics, right? So Syrma SGS and KAGA Electronics will come and form a joint venture where they will work together. And the main reason is like they want to strengthen the electronic manufacturing capabilities in India. And another important thing is, right, enhance support for Japanese OEM customer, right? See, they already have a lot of Japanese customers. At the same time, working with a Japanese company automatically helps them to enhance their support and obviously expand their presence across high growth technology and industrial segment. So these were the updates from the results perspective. In short, if I say the results are literally fantastic, right? Not just that they grew by almost close to 67 percent, but they got immense operating leverage with the profit almost double, and they are doing almost all the right things. So if they are able to continue with this and with the growth, it will create a lot of value for the shareholders. But at the same time, right, as I always tell in all my videos, right, future is uncertain. We still need to keep eye and track the company on a quarter on quarter basis and see how things are progressing, because you never know when things can change in the industries, and what can impact the business in a negative way. If you guys like this video and the analysis, please do hit like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you and God bless you.